Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the VR Chat Show. My name is Alex VR. I am today's host. I am also co-host of the Between Realities VR podcast. I'm community manager for B-Hapitcs, but today I am here at the VR Chat Show, and I'm here with you, so thank you all so much for joining us. Joined next to me here is the amazing and the incredible Jake Kazdal from 17-Bit. Hello, Jake. How you doing today?
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. We are actually coming to you all from inside a completely recreated world from Song in the Smoke. That's right, the brand new Oculus Quest title that has come out recently that has gotten amazing reviews. Everybody's loving Song in the Smoke, and it feels like we're in there right now. I mean, you would know, right? Like, how does this feel compared to the game?
I'm blown away. This is crazy. The fidelity, like every prop is represented. I walked around the first 20 minutes and I was here just like flipping out. This is amazing. I love it.
It's super, super cool. And for anyone out there who is interested in coming to check out this amazing creation, there is a link to the room in the description of the video so you can come out and check it out. Now, before we dive into our conversation, I think we should take a minute to introduce everyone who has joined us in the world today. And among them are a group of amazing YouTubers. One of them, of course, is the co-host of Between Realities, my good friend Skeeva. Hey, Skeeva, thanks for joining us. We also have Derrick from DewdyDoesVR on YouTube and Twitch. Hello, Dewdy. Thanks for joining us. Kyle from WIRGaming. Hey, Kyle. Thanks for being here. Jason, TheLivonator, as you all know. Thanks, Jason, as always, for being a part of this and making things happen. We also have Darcangel over there from YouTube. Hey, Darcangel. Thanks for being here. I saw a little Void is in over there, too. What's up, Void? Thanks for being a part of this. Now, we also have in the audience the crew who helped bring this amazing creation to life. Velp, of course, who does editing and animations here. We have Noctauto, one of our lead artists here in the room. Meg, of course, is an artist. We have OnDog, artist in animations. And, of course, there's our other artists, Mystery and Betty and Tydelwave, who did some animation assistance in the room. So there's everyone. We're here. We're ready to get started. Jake, thanks again so much for taking the time to come and join us and do this, man. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Absolutely. This is amazing.
So maybe before we dive into Song in the Smoke, right, which I'm sure everyone has questions about, maybe we can get to know you a little bit. You know, maybe you can kind of give us a little bit about your background, kind of how you got started in the games industry and what led you down that of virtual reality.
I love video games. I've been in the video game industry since I can remember. So basically, I grew up down the street from Nintendo of America. And so when I turned 16, I was able to get a job there as a game counselor during the NES sort of heyday.
What?
In fact, the new Netflix has a new, it's a TV show they got now, the one with the 6-part series. I can't believe I'm blanking the name. There's a brand new Netflix TV show all about video games, and there's an episode that's goes all about the game counselor era of Nintendo America, and I'm in that a couple times as a young, fresh-faced 16-year-old.
Wow, that's amazing. So I definitely watched that, by the way. I don't remember what it's called. I don't remember what it's called.
High Scores.
High Score, there you go.
High Scores, yeah. So, and in fact, the guy that hosts it, Sean Bloom, was he was like my senpai, he kind of took me through training and got me out on the field and like really kind of became a really good friend of mine. We're still friends to this day. I was so blown away to see that because it was so funny. Anyways, I ended up rolling, NX America was there before they merged into Square Enix. And so I worked at NX America for a while. I worked at Irem, Kemco. just kind of doing all kinds of behind the scenes kind of stuff, play testing and game counseling and stuff like that. And that led to kind of this fascination with Japan. And so I took a semester abroad in Kobe, Japan, and totally fell in love with the whole thing here. And I was really into Super Famicom gaming, and I had a Japanese Super Famicom, and I was buying all these games, and I just totally fell in love with it. And went back and kind of just kept working in games, and I decided to move into art, and then worked for a couple of years in Seattle, where I was from there, and then I ended up getting a job with Tetsuya Mizuguchi at Sega in Tokyo, working on Rez and Space Channel 5 and a bunch of stuff during that sort of the big Dreamcast era. And then was there for about 4.5 years and just totally fell in love with it, but wanted to go back and kind of get better at art skills and stuff. So I went back to design school in Los Angeles, and then I worked at EA for a while and worked on Command & Conquer 4 and the Spielberg project LMNO, which actually was really ambitious but never shipped, unfortunately. And then after that, I decided to go independent and really wanted to go back to Japan, but I wanted to kind of do it on my own terms. So I formed a studio in Seattle 12 years ago, I guess. We formed 17-bit. And about 7 years ago, decided to move back full-time back to Kyoto, Japan. And so we've been here ever since and sort of set up shop here and built a fantastic team, and very happy. And yeah, we're just kind of, perfect timing coming into the holiday season. We just shipped our final kind of main version on Steam and 5-port yesterday of Song in the Smoke. And so, yeah, I've been doing game stuff for literally since 1989. So I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm still having the best time ever. So got more to come.
Jake, this is amazing, man. I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness right now, like having ties to
just
Nintendo
old.
And Sega. Just old. No, I've just been doing this for way too long. Just old. Well, that's amazing, man. And so what about VR? Like, how did you, how did VR get introduced to you?
So years ago, I went to a talk at the University of Washington. I mean, this was like maybe the mid-90s. And it was when that first VR boom kind of got going. And this guy did this talk on how VR was going to change life. It was going to change the world. It was going to change gaming, entertainment, education, everything. I remember it was my dad, and I was just like, oh, my God, like VR is going to change everything. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I love, depth in games. I love 3D displays. I've always wanted more than just kind of like traditional flat screen gaming. And so I've always been excited about VR. And, I went and did some of the arcade games back in the day. I forget the name of that one that I played so much, but it made me sick. Like the frame rate was terrible. Like it was just ahead of its time. And then, fast forward about 20 years and there just wasn't much movement on it at all. And then I started really following, Palmer Luckey's, the whole Oculus kind of thing. And then when we were already doing development for our games, and they put the D1 out as a Kickstarter. So we kickstarted 2 of those VR headsets and had them sent to the office as soon as possible. And that first day we got those, we sat down and we jerry-rigged the whole thing up. There was no content available. There was nothing at all because people were just getting their hands on these things. But, through to the power of the internet, we got on some forums and we got sort of our lead technical artist, Colin Williamson, was able to kind of hack in basic janky 3D support for VR support for Left 4 Dead. And I guess it was Left 4 Dead 2 and
Sweet.
And Half-Life 2. And so we just jumped into this, this crazy new world. And I remember just shitting my pants, man. I mean, it was so crazy. It was so scary. It was so intense. You're not watching this game anymore. You are in the world and this thing is trying to kill you. And I was feeling all these new emotions about, it supersedes your frontal cortex, and you look over and there's this thing stumbling at you, and it's trying to kill you, and your brain overwrites your sort of logic center, and it goes right to the lizard brain back here, and it's just dude, we have a problem.
Pure reaction.
You need to run. Pure adrenaline, and I was so scared but so thrilled and so invigorated, and I was just like, this is everything. This is the future that I want to be a part of. And I remember those zombies for the first time. I'd played Left 4 Dead so many times, and those zombies, on a little screen, they're about this big, you're shooting them, whatever. When you were playing it in VR, for the first time I looked down the hall and I saw those things just lumbering at me, and I was so scared, but so just I never felt more alive. And I was like, all right, we got to do a VR game. This is the future. I mean, I don't know how big the audience is going to be. I don't know how much money we're going to make. I don't care. I want to dive into this space, with everything because it's just such a cool time. And like I've been doing games, like I just said, for, since the 80s. This is the biggest shift in the whole medium. Like, it's not even video games. It's not even the normal video games anymore. It's a whole new world. And to have the opportunity to sort of really embrace that and be really fully funded by both Sony and Oculus to kind of really make the game that we wanted to do has been like the project of a lifetime. Like I doubt I'll ever work on anything as interesting as this game has been.
Wow. So has this been your first VR game? Like, is this the game that you're talking about, or did you work on other VR games?
We did with some external help. We did a port of Galaxy onto the Oculus Rift. It was basically the same game, which is all in 3D with like this big 3D theater and stuff. It was really cool. It really is the premium version of the game, but it was a port of a 2D game. Song in the Smoke was the game that it's been a long project. It's been about 5 years we've been working on this thing.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's been a very long project. It's the early days. There weren't a lot of standards. So, just kind of designing the line, designing how you're going to interface with stuff. There were no standards back then. So we were playing everything we could get our hands on and watching these trends sort of develop in different directions. And it's just been super interesting. But yeah, this project has been more challenging than anything I've ever done before, but also more rewarding, I think. And the ability to go and sit in the world, I mean, like, this is so cool. This is so great. But the idea that you could just go back now, I still play all the time because it's such an interesting, open-ended thing, and it's just so beautiful to be in that place. It really supersedes everything that you're dealing with, and you're in this new world. And I'm absolutely fascinated by everything about this medium.
So 5 years in development, Song in the Smoke was, and how many people did you have working with you at 17-bit on this game?
It's about 15 of us generally.
15.
So
that's like the size of the team.
Yeah.
Wow, I love it. So 5 years later, here we are. The game releases on Quest initially, right? And just now recently you said that it has the Steam release and a Viveport release.
Yeah, so it launched originally on, it really was a PlayStation VR game. And PlayStation funded it, and Sony funded it. And a couple of years ago, the Oculus guys, who we've known for a long time, we've been friendly with for a long time, came by our studio to see what we were working on. We showed them Song in the Smoke, the PSVR exclusive at the time. And they were like, this is awesome. Like, we need this on the Quest 2. We were like, boy, I don't know if we can, squish it down that much. And they were so adamant. They're like, let's try. Let's find out. Like, we'll fund you guys to do a little prototype. Like, let's talk to Sony and see if this is cool with them. And we had everybody together. We went out and just kind of talked and hung out. And everybody came away super excited about the context. We just decided to sort of kind of pause on the PlayStation VR version, do some tests, and see if we could squish the game down. And there's a lot of work. The Quest 2 is obviously not nearly as powerful as a high-end PC or the PSVR. But through a bunch of magic, we were able to make it happen, and the team really rallied, and we sort of were able to, we hired some external help too. There's some sort of specialists that were really good at this kind of stuff, building some custom tool sets, and we were able to really, kind of mold the game down to be functional on Quest. And so it sort of launched on Quest, Oculus Rift, and PSVR. And then now we are, like I said, the other day, we launched on Steam, which is the ultimate kind of PC edition with all the new bells and whistles, all the customization, super powerful graphics settings. You can push everything all the way out. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then Viveport also contacted us and said, this game's amazing. We really want you guys to be a part of our holiday promotional thing. So we are the official free game if you buy a Viveport subscription as of 2 days ago, I think. Yeah, so the Christmas holiday, we're sort of the gift game.
I'm getting in there because I've played it on the Quest, but I would love to see the graphical.
You got to see it.
It's version.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so proud of everything we've done the Quest. I definitely think it's one of the most beautiful Quest games, and I think part of that comes from the fact that you probably wouldn't shoot for building it. Like, it would be a dumb thing to do to shoot for making it that pretty on the Quest from the get-go, but because we were bringing it down, like it worked out. It worked out, but. That being said, the whole team was like so busy on the Quest version. It was kind of our lead SKU launching. Now that we're all playing the high-end PC version, like every day, everyone's just like, oh my God, this looks so amazing. Like, it's so beautiful. Like, with everything just ramped up, it's crazy.
And again, the question is for people who are maybe learning about Song in the Smoke for the first time, right? Like, what kind of game is it, and what can someone expect when they play it for the first time?
So I guess I should start at the beginning. When I first went into these VR games, it was just like, wow, this is a world. Like, I'm in a world. I'm sort of immediately, interacting with stuff always interests me. I love games with really good physics. I don't know why. I'm totally fascinated with just like simple, realistic, physical, virtual simulated spaces. I don't know why. I'm like totally into it. And so I wanted to do a game where the world was like simple but robust, and where everything kind of had simple rules. And I love sci-fi games, and I love, all kinds of stuff. But the point is, a lot of games have a lot of complex systems and a lot of complex new items you've never heard of before, and like they've got like these arbitrary sort of rule sets and stuff like that. I was like, how simple can we make this thing where people just kind of inherently understand like as much as possible? Like a rock is a rock, and a stick is a stick, and it behaves like a stick, and you can throw it like a stick, and it'll burn like a stick. And I just kind of have an inherent understanding of the world around me. And so it worked really well with this sort of, prehistoric sort of world where, yeah, it's like there's sticks and rocks and animals and fire. Like it's pretty simple, and you can pretty simply sort of inherently understand the rules of the world. And so what I wanted to do was make a really simple ecosystem where like everything could kind of have a place, and it could kind of be living in that little simple world. And I didn't care how simple it was, as long as it was robust and consistent. And so it doesn't need to be this hyper complex thing. You can be like, okay, cool, let's set up some basic rule sets, some basic creatures, basic, respawning food and items and stuff like that. And you could make this virtual world that you could, kind of virtually survive in. And so, this whole idea of like a survival game in this simple kind of wild world where you could just do whatever you want. Like there's no scripting, like it's not like it's, linear in any way. It's just like, hey man, here, there's a giant playground. It's kind of dangerous, but you can make your way through it. You can make your own tools, weapons. You can make your fire. Like it's completely up to you how you want to kind of experience the space at your own time. And so, I played a lot of survival games and kind of really wanted to just sort of simplify and really kind of like focus on the basics and just sort of having be this emergent, physically driven, kind of open, dynamic, reactive, simulated space. And I think that's something that we managed to do. I mean, a lot of people are saying it's the best survival game in VR. I agree, obviously, but I mean, there's not a whole lot either. But I think we nailed it. I think we set out to do this thing, and I think that we really made this fantastic survival adventure game in virtual reality.
I really think you did. And, I mean, I'll let you kind of speak to the reception of the game, right? Like it came on PSVR. Like what was the vibe at the office when you started hearing about the reception?
It's a funny story. It's stressful shipping a game on a good day. And then, shipping multiple hardwares is compounding the difficulty. Working remotely is compounding the difficulty. The biggest difficult sort of piece of this puzzle, though, I think, was normally when you're building a game, you spend a lot of time towards the end playing it with other people that haven't seen it before. So normally we're going to, BitSummit in Kyoto here, or we're going to PAX in Seattle or Boston. We're going to the Tokyo Game Show. We're going to E3 in Los Angeles. Like we're going to all these trade shows, and we're getting tons and tons of feedback from new users who've never seen the game before. And you learn so much about your own game watching the first 30 minutes be played, 1,000 times by a bunch of random people. And I really love that. I love going to the shows. I love interacting with people. I love, talking to people and like kind of seeing their emotional beats and like what they're thinking about stuff. All that was taken away from us for this game. And VR inherently is more difficult, and not everybody has a VR headset. You can't even visit all your friends and have them take a look at it because a lot of us don't have VR headsets or whatever. But we didn't do any trade shows, so we were kind of really vacuum in a way that we've never done before, like not even close. And so I think everyone was really focused on the things that were broken and things that were not quite reading and things that were not working well. And everybody was kind of like super like stressed out and nervous and like tight on time, and like we're trying to get all the the platforms working, but this thing has a bug. And like I don't want to say it was a negative situation, but it was definitely stressful and tense, and really like everyone was hyper focused on these negative things. And then we shipped it, and no one else knows all the stuff, right? People are just like game players, like, oh cool, I'm watching this, and they start playing like this is amazing, and they're like having fun, and we're watching all these streamers and everyone's just loving it, and we're like, oh yeah, we made this awesome game. Like we made this awesome game, and we finished it, and it's done, and we played it until we felt it was ready. Like it's done, it's ready, and people are loving it, and everyone is just like, oh yeah, this is awesome. We made this awesome thing, and people are loving it, and And goddamn it, we deserve everyone to love it. Like, yes, this is great. You know, and I think we lost track of it for a bit there. But like to watch all these happy people just loving the game and the reviews coming in, you know, people are saying, "Oh my God, Game of the Year is like the best, you know, best survival game by far in VR." And it was really kind of redeeming. Like, wow, you know, I feel like it just kind of, I don't want to say it came out of the blue, but we kind of forgot about all that stuff. And we were so focused on other things that it made it really a real nice, warm, hot blanket of love and just kind of showering of affection. And everyone's just like, oh, it just, you know, we went out and had a dinner, like our first team dinner in forever. Because here, the coronavirus is actually really low in Japan right now. I'm sure this Omicron is coming on. But we were able to get all the crew together and go out for a nice dinner and see each other in real life. And everyone was in great spirits and had a great meal. There's a restaurant down the street where this guy specializes in what they call GBA meat, which is basically locally sourced animal meat. This guy's a hunter and he goes out and kills wild boars and deer, and so we ate boar and deer and drank a bunch of sake and just were like, man, like reading the reviews together and just like, this is awesome. And like everyone's like, you know, excitedly sending each other reviews. You know, we kept like the internal company Slack, and reviews just kept coming in and people are loving it. So yeah, I think we've earned some time off and everyone's just kind of glowing right now, really enjoying it.
Dude, congratulations on the success and the reception of the game. You know, like the first thing I heard about the game was how good it was. You know, like it's like scene, boom, right away people are talking about how awesome it is. And I was definitely excited to have the chance to jump in. And, you know, you were talking earlier about kind of just like taking the inspiration from like just getting as simple as possible. And I absolutely felt like a caveman who just like woke up one day and like kind of had to figure things out, you know, but because we all kind of have some of that, like, I don't know, like deeply seated, like primordial inherent skill set, you know, like you see the stick, you see the rock, you kind of have an idea of where to go and what to do. And one of the things that I loved about it, and this is one of the things that I love about games that do this in general, is your first few minutes, it's so great when it's not just like pure exposition, right? And like, well, hello and welcome to the tutorial. Here you'll learn how to craft axes with rocks and sticks. You know, like there's none of that. Like you just, boom, you wake up, you start moving, you start grabbing, and sure, there's like on-screen tips to help you, but I felt like I was experiencing my first steps rather than like being taught my first steps. And that was the first thing I noticed about the game, and I kind of had an idea that I might be in for a treat once I got through that first kind of section of the game.
It's really important. I mean, I have a short attention span and I play a lot of games, and yeah, I want to learn, you know, I want to learn through playing, play it and do it and be forced to kind of like, you know, just utilize the tools in the world. And I think all the best games do that. Like no one wants to sit there and be lectured to for half an hour. We came to this world to play and have a good time. And to get to your point with the primordial stuff, I mean, I really, like I said, I was so emotionally blown away by those early days in VR, like those zombies coming at me and like this sense of kind of fear and this intense of, you know, being able to use the environment and kind of like, I wanted a simple world where you could kind of, you know, even under extreme duress, like a lion's coming at you, you could still kind of think clearly enough to like, I can pick this up, I can throw it at him, like I can use stuff that's in the world with me. And I wanted the whole thing to really kind of talk to your sort of innate senses. I mean, I really, that was kind of...
Dude, it's coming.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Oh, no. No. No, it's coming. No! Okay. Close call.
Can I tell you a funny story? So I wanted the nighttime in this game to be dangerous. I wanted it to be a bad idea, to be out. And I wanted it to get dark and be scary and primitive, again, like this primordial like fear. I wanted to really play on these basic emotional sort of instincts. And so as the team was testing it, everyone just kept complaining, dude, it gets too dark at night. I can't see, and I'm like, it's stressful. I'm like, well, then don't go out at night. You're not supposed to go out at night. It's dangerous. Like, yeah, but everyone just, you know, kept coming at me like, oh, you know, we got to make it lighter so you can see everything at night. I'm like, no, it's the middle of the night in the forest. You're not supposed to be out. Like, so I had this concept from our amazingly talented concept artist, Terada-san, up in Tokyo. And I didn't know what to do with this thing, but I was like, that's terrible. It's horrible. It makes me feel bad. Like it's so terrifying and like at this weird root level. And so finally I was like, you know what, you guys, let's remodel them up, throw them in the game. I was like, okay, if you go out at night and you don't fire, this thing is going to come fine. Like it is a terrible idea at night. And if you guys won't believe me, I tell you, I'm going to make you understand having this horrible thing come haunt you. And the whole team immediately was like, dude, it's time to take it out. I was like, nope, it's staying in. And like, yes, there is a pressure to get back home by night. You know, when the light starts going down and the crickets, the cicadas start humming and the light starts getting more red, the music slowly kind of ramps up in intensity. All I want emotional beat, really primitive emotional beat of like, hey, I've been doing stuff, I'm playing around outside. I have this feeling now that it's getting late, and I have this urge to like get home and get to safety and get back to the fire. Like I wanted this to be this really strong, just like, yes, spend all day doing your thing. When it gets to be night, if you're out in the woods, you're camping and you're lost or whatever, you're hiking and you like, the sun's going down, like there's a really nice primitive connection to nature there. They're like, hey man, it's time to do the right thing and get home, get back to safety. And I think that this fella, our friend, the darkness, really helps with that motivation, shall we say, to get your butt back to the campfire at night.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I think it was really well done. Like it didn't take me long to realize that if I don't have a torch in my hand, I'm not seeing anything. And then I did get the torch going, and I'm still not seeing that much. Like I've got maybe 10 feet, 15 feet in front of me, and it's like, I'm like I was literally looking for a spot to lay down and sleep past the time so the sun can come back up. So I think you did. I think you nailed it, dude. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I love all these kind of survival games and stuff like that. But most of these games don't force you to kind of consider it. Like Red Dead Redemption. I love Red Dead Redemption. Both of them. I played all the way through them. But you just throw down a campfire. You don't have to worry about if it's going to rain. You don't have to worry about if it's in a good spot for being caught or whatever. Like you don't have to really worry about anything. You don't have to sleep. All these games you can stay awake for as many days as you want. Like Zelda, all these have beds, but like, why? You don't really need to. I guess you get your health back. I was like, can we do something where you're really in the flow with sort of the real world? Like you have to sleep every night. How do we design a game where you really do have to kind of rest and get sleep? Like this is a normal thing to do if you're going to be out in this virtual simulated world. Like you got to eat, you got to stay rested, you got to stay warm. Like those are the big things for a survival game. And so I think we did it.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier, like as it starts to get dark, like tone changes, right? Like new music comes in. What can you say about your approach to the sound design in this game, right? The music, the sound effects, things like that.
So our musician is Sam Berg, who I worked together with at EA in Los Angeles. And he's done music for all of our games we've done so far at 17-bit. And he was really busy with some other projects he was working on. He's done big time stuff. He was on God of War and the new Star Wars game, the double lightsaber thing, when I forget the name of it. Anyways, he was like, yeah, man, I'm pretty busy. And I was like, dude, you got to work with us on this game. Like, it's going to be great. And I really drunkenly and passionately kind of pleaded at him over, I guess it was some party we were at, and I was very drunk, and I was like basically giving him the full spiel. And I said, I want just the world to have this frequency. Like, it's not music in the traditional sense, but I want this world to have this kind of frequency. And when it's peaceful, and then we can have these really subtle sort of mood-changing emotional beats. And then as danger kind of gets on, like, we can really kind of ramp up the intensity and kind of play with this. But really, it's a frequency. And he is a Berklee School of Music, like, very accomplished musician. And, we kind of talked a lot about just this idea of frequency over music. And it took us a while to kind of find our rhythm, but I think we finally did it. And then when he brought in the singing, this lady Moira that he met in New York City, this really talented singer who does all the singing for the Singing Stones. So having some melody in there and some of that kind of more music-y stuff kind of really layers on top of the frequency, just this ambient frequency, really well. And I think we came away with something that's, it's very memorable and very beautiful and very, it's just very natural. And I wanted that frequency to just be a part of your emotional kind of context the whole time you're in this world.
Nice. And dude, even like the simple stuff like munching on a mushroom or the sound effect when you like climb up, things like that, like those can be misses, like oftentimes like they just get like some weird sound clip of a guy, like some weird grunt, and it's like kind of jarring and off-putting. But I think that you guys did a really good job in this game too of just like a lot of those subtleties, like the munch sound and this and the fire and the sound of the rock kind of as you're smacking your torch on the wall and stuff like that. Like how do you go about kind of gathering a lot of this stuff? Like, are these all unique? Are there like places like libraries that you can go? Like how does this come together?
I want to know who did the sound. Who did the sound in there when you're eating? That's the best. That's my favorite sound. Sorry.
The male avatar is our studio director, Raj Joshi, and he has a very thick dulcet tones, and he was a natural fit. He also played Crash in Galaxy. And then our sound designer, Ali, is a professional sound designer who does a lot of stuff. Well, he used to. He's full-time at 17-bit now, but he used to be a sound designer for animations and for film and stuff like that. So he loves field recording. And we live, in Kyoto is kind of like the end of civilization for this part of Japan. It's kind of, we're up against the mountains. particularly like kind of where I am and he are as close, but we're kind of at the very northeast section of the city where it's basically just north and just east of us is just miles and miles of forest and mountains. So there's plenty of opportunity to just get out and do field recordings. And Ali has everything. He's got all, everything, all the gear, and he loves nothing more to go out and, sample brooks and streams and the crickets. All that stuff is live from kind of the greater Kyoto wildlife area.
Wow.
And I mean, he's an expert at this stuff, and he was like right up his wheelhouse. He's just like a perfect fit to bring this whole thing to life.
That's amazing, man. And it's blowing my mind right now that you're sitting there at the base of a mountain in Japan, and I'm here in the United States in Arizona, and everyone here in the audience is just is peppered all over the world, and VR doesn't care about time and space at all, does it? We're here sharing it, and it's pretty amazing. So, speaking of our audience, a couple of our audience members here are always benefiting from accessibility options in VR games, right? Like VR oftentimes requires us to use our bodies dynamically. You have to use your arm to hit the rock, to chip away a thing. And I know Duty here in the audience actually reached out to 17-bit with some suggestions as far as accessibility and stuff like that is concerned. So when it comes to accessibility, can you speak to your guys' approach with this and kind of some of the things that you were able to do to make the game more accessible to others?
It's a big deal for us. One of my best friends in the world and our ex-tester, he was our tester on Galaxy, Brian, is in a wheelchair. He's been in a wheelchair since high school. And playing in VR is like the great equalizer. Like everybody can just jump in and it's awesome. I love how it's the great equalizer this way. And towards the end of development, we were kind of working on some of the finer details. We were really thinking about this. Like, we want everyone to be able to enjoy this game. We've worked so hard on it. We want everyone to be able to enjoy it. And there's all kinds of different sort of limitations people have and different sort of situations they find themselves in. Color blindness, everything. Like, we wanted to just kind of, Colin, again, our lead technical artist, is really passionate about this stuff. And he was the one that was kind of, processing this stuff and kind of turning it into tasks. And he's like, this stuff is coming in. He's like, we can do this. Let's do it. Let's support everyone we possibly can. And everybody on the team was like, hell yeah, of course, man. Like, let's do this. And so, I mean, anything we can do. And a lot of the stuff came from the community. Thank you for bringing some of this stuff up. A lot of these specific sort of requests, make it easier for us to just be like, yeah, we can deliver on that. Sure. Let's set up a little plan and just get it in the pipeline and get it going. So it's our pleasure, obviously, to have as many people be able to enjoy this thing as possible and to really appeal to as wide of an audience as we humanly can.
Well, thank you for doing that. It means a lot to us, and of course, especially those who are able to benefit from those accessibility options. So what are you guys doing now? Are you still cranking on Song in the Smoke? I know you just got out on Viveport and Steam, right? So that's kind of been the focus. But are we looking at patches? Are we looking at future content? Are you able to share anything like that?
So these are our big releases, and we've done a handful of smaller patches and a good handful of quite larger patches. From here on out, like, we've kind of burned through our development budget, and it's going to sort of depend on how sales go to sort of justify spending a lot more time and money on it. Like, we've kind of delivered the experience we want to. We would love to keep working on it, but it will require, some sales. We'll see how the Steam stuff goes. It's just a couple days old at this point, so we're going to have to, I haven't even looked at the numbers yet.
Right.
There's been a lot of outreach from sort of smaller headsets, particularly China. There's like a bunch of different custom headsets there, and a lot of people are reaching out saying, hey, we love your game. We would love to get it on our headset. But it's a lot more port work and stuff like that, and trying to figure out what that's going to look like. Obviously, I think PSVR 2 is going to be a very successful piece of hardware. I would like to be a part of that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of sort of, just we're a studio. We've got 15 guys who I need to, kind of guys and people who I need to pay for, everything. So we need to make sure that there's money coming in. So we're kind of starting up a new project, and we're kind of looking at sort of which of these opportunities is going to make sense. We're kind of like, everyone kind of drifting off the holidays right now, and I'm just like, that's fine. We don't need to think about it. We don't need to talk about it. You guys have been working your asses off. Let's enjoy the holidays. Let's relax a little bit. And when we come together in the new year, we can start to make some more plans and kind of see where the next steps are going to take us.
Sweet. Well, we will definitely be following. We'll be watching along, and we'll be looking for announcements from 17-bit to see what you guys have up sleeves, and hopefully what we can expect. Although I don't think we're in a huge hurry. I think we definitely have some time to kind of relax, enjoy Song in the Smoke on PC, enjoy it on Oculus Quest and PSVR, and just like enjoy it for now. You know what I mean? I think you guys have the right approach right now when it comes to just enjoy the holidays, you guys shipped a great game. Everybody loves it. They're recreating it in Rec Room. Things could be worse. So congratulations on all of that, Jake.
One thing I will say, too, for the new patch is that a lot of feedback coming in, and there's been a lot. Our Discord has been blowing up, and we love it. It's like the best thing, short of being able to go to these trade shows and stuff, being able to kind of build these relationships with our core fans on Discord has been fantastic. And a lot of people were, kind of split down the middle. People are like, the game's kind of too hard. Can you make it a bit easier? And then some people are like, this is kind of too easy. Like, I want more of a challenge. Can you make it harder? And so we decided to go in and kind of, again, appeal to everybody we could. We're like, well, it's good that it's 50-50. So we can leave the normal mode as it is, and then we've got an easier mode, and we've got a harder mode. And when you're in there, if you look around, there's something that no one's picked up on yet. We've added a special mode that no one's quite found yet. We kind of expected people to find it a little bit earlier. But for the hardcore fans out there, there's more to do now if you look around.
All right, you guys just heard it. If you've got Song in the Smoke, start digging, because there's something there for you to find. So get after it. So Jake, what's been like left unsaid, right? Like, is there anything that's like definitely important that, you wish everyone knew about the game, or is there anything that you kind of want to give us as kind of like your closing thoughts?
One quick one is, again, back to this sort of discourse, with the community. A lot of people have been like, hey, can you, patch in multiplayer? Can you patch in multiplayer? It'd be really rad to do this in multiplayer. And, I think people don't understand, like, what that means. Like, to patch it in would mean, like, kind of reinventing the wheel, like all the AI, all the time skipping stuff, like everything would have to be kind of rethought. And so that's probably not likely to happen. But a lot of the smaller requests that we're getting in are still kind of being filed, and a lot of stuff that if it's easy, and it's something that, can kind of do without kind of a bunch of code, but it's like, some settings or some tweaks here and there. Like, we are continuing to patch stuff and kind of like paying attention to concerns and problems people are having. We think we've addressed most of the bugs now. I don't think there's much left. It's really kind of show-stopping. But we are kind of opportunistically adding bits and pieces. So do keep the feedback coming, and do keep the comments and stuff coming like that. But in terms of the game, no, I think it really does speak for itself. I think if you have any interest in VR, I mean, I think it's a fantastic game. As VR lovers that we are, and being able to kind of be as passionate about this and have as much experience playing as much of the stuff as we have been, it's just a really interesting thing. I mean, I after thousands of hours, I still enjoy a new playthrough, and I'm looking forward to kind of spending some time over the holiday. I've been kind of finishing up a bunch of other stuff, more of the behind the scenes, the Viveport setup and the Steam launch and all this kind of stuff. I'm playing nearly as much as I was kind of leading up to launch, where it was like, full days every day. Especially now with the new PC version, it's just so gorgeous. I want to sit down and play through the whole thing properly without and yeah, I just want to thank the fans. I mean, it's building these relationships with these people and with the streamers, and watching the people kind of stream it has just been so. It's crazy how you know everything about the game and be so familiar with it, but to watch someone experience it for the first time and see it through their eyes and see the fear and see the joy and see the excitement is just never-endingly interesting. And so I think it's a perfect game for that kind of world where every time you jump in there, there's going to be something new and fresh. It's always terrifying and exciting, and I spend all my free time kind of watching these streamers go through and have their own adventures. So keep it up. I really appreciate it.
All right, Jake, before we go, we have at least one question here from our audience. Noctauto, I know you've got something for us.
Yeah, I was just interested on the art design of, like, the inspirations of the crow person and stuff. It seems very, like, just to me, recently I just got out of an art history class on Native American art and stuff, the representation from that. So I was interested in, like, what cultures you kind of grabbed from.
So I don't know how familiar you are with Terada-san's work, but he is a very kind of world-renowned artist. He's very well known in Japan. He's done cover designs for a ton of games over the years. He actually worked on the original Zelda comic for the Nintendo Power. I mean, he's a legend. He's absolutely one of the most talented illustrators on the planet. He's been a friend of mine for about a decade now, and I was just absolutely thrilled to bring him onto this project. And I mean, he's a genius. He's a straight genius illustrator and concept designer, and having him come on and bring in these weird creatures and stuff like that was a big part of it. Like, when I first kind of was describing some of these animals, the first ones he came back with were the Fury, which is kind of the lion, and the Grazer, which is basically a deer. But his take on it was so different. And it was kind of like, wow, like there's no need for us to go into this really defined world. We can kind of, have this weird space before space and time. Like, no one needs to know exactly what animals looked like back then. We kind of have pretty free reign here. But we did want to kind of ground it in some sort of cultural, some sort of containment, right? Like some sort of direction. And so we basically talked a lot about the original Asians to leave Asia and come back into North America over the Bering Strait. And so it's sort of the first cruise of humans coming through those first cultures that were, they are very Asian. I mean, I grew up in Seattle and, I've, spent a lot of time around Native Americans in the Seattle area. And when I moved to Japan, I really realized a lot of the facial structures and stuff like that, like there's definitely a lot of, I mean, this is where these people came from. Like they have a shared lineage. And I just think it's so interesting to, think of all the cool stories that happened in all these kind of journeys. I mean, humanity's been around for, a very long time, but we've been sort of, physiologically, we've been modern humans for a very, very long time. And so think of all the cool stuff that happened over that time, like all the cool cultures, all the cool music and parties and foods and just like events, stuff like that, like stuff that's just lost to history. And I wanted to let Terada-san sort of define this group of people and kind of like, just to have his way with it. And we talked loosely about this stuff as this Bering Strait group of people as inspiration, but he just kind of went deep. And actually, the three-headed crow lady, he drew it one night when I was talking about this shaman and kind of like, we're trying to figure out who she is and what her whole story is. And he drew this three-headed crow thing. And I was like, whoa, that's original. That's terrifying, but also completely amazing. And then it wasn't long after that I went hiking. My mom came to visit, and we went down to Nara. There's this long old pilgrimage of these different Shinto shrines through kind of this large chunk of Japan. And at the very end is like this really powerful big shrine, and they have a three-headed crow there. And I was just like immediately taking pictures with my phone and sending him to Terada. I'm like, dude, what's up? And he's like, yeah, this is a thing in like old Japanese culture as well. And I was like, okay, I didn't actually realize that, but I bought a bunch of little charms and bracelets, stuff like that of the three-headed crow. This is just kind of his take on that. But he is very worldly and very inspired by all kinds of stuff. But I was very happy to just kind of let him take the reins and go crazy.
Yeah, that was so awesome. That story.
Yeah, that was
I'm interested in how different cultures kind of, their gods and, worships and all these different things and how they incorporate that within their art and all that. And I would have never thought it would be Japanese or Asian culture, but it ended up being that. And that's so crazy because I know so many other cultures have the animals and and they represent them. So yeah, that's just awesome.
Definitely a great question, Noctauto. Jason, TheLivonator, what's up, man?
Just more of a couple statements. For the art style that you guys chosen there, the mix between the cell shading and the lighting in there, just amazing. I mean, I appreciate when people do cell shading and all that stuff right, but you guys just really like nailed like a fine in between line there. It just adds to the feel of it too. And I didn't know there was something else there that but yeah, just the experience like Alex was talking about earlier with going around there, how you don't have any direction. You have kind of the on-screen stuff subtly letting you know that you're hungry and stuff like that, which is very, very helpful. But the fact where you have to actually go around and explore the world and see all the magic that you guys have built there too. Like, I love when people do that. I drive people nuts on these games when I'm playing multiplayer because I'm the guy that'll go look at everything, pick up everything. Well, I mean, you guys spent the time to do it, right? Well, why not go explore that? I don't want to go in and rush through and be done with the game. So, like, your game is amazing to me that you can go and do all that. And, yeah, you have the community working together, figuring out, like, what to do. They're like, okay, we've done this here. Like, even our entire group was sitting there talking about it. Okay, what do you do here? This is what I did there. And it was like a community coming together to figure it out. And like going on what you were talking about earlier. Sorry, I know I like saved this all up for the end here, but I didn't want to leave without saying this stuff to you. You know what I mean?
It's a robust experience, especially on the Quest, man. Like I was like in the Quest and it was big and open, and it's like, wow, like this is definitely great.
It's amazing. It really is, and I hope that we can help remind people of how amazing the game is. So, because I really want. I think this is the perfect time to do this with you right now. Hopefully we get you out there and people can see this when they're getting their new headsets and maybe throw your game in there for like one of their first. That's what I'm hoping, man. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of people are jumping into VR right now, so this is a really good time. All right, so is this it? This is it. All right, Jake. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Jake Kazdal, founder of 17-Bit, creative and project director, art director on Song in the Smoke. Dude, thank you so much for all of your contributions in the video game world and in the world of VR. The space would not be the same without what you've done. So thank you so much for being here and for everything that you've done, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This has been absolutely fantastic, and this is a very surreal moment for me to be being interviewed in a virtual representation of my virtual world. I love it.
We're living in the future,
has been fantastic.
Man. We're living in the future, and I'm here for it. Thank you so much to all of the amazing YouTubers that have joined us in the audience. Thank you, of course, to the incredible animators and artists who have brought this world to life. And thanks, of course, to the VR Chat Show. My name is Alex VR. I was your host this evening, or day, or whenever the hell you're seeing this. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you in the next episode. Goodbye, everyone.
Woo! Thank you.
Bye.
Woo! Yay.